Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? It is Well Red Beard. It's a damn fine day to talk about a book. It's been a while. I have kind of dove into doing shorts, and then I kind of fell out of that too. But when I do, my goal was to kind of go through a lot of the stuff that I've read and shot videos on over the past 3, 4 years, and kind of start to create shorts about them. Because let's be honest, even if I don't remember everything about the book, you don't have to remember much to shoot a 1 minute video. But anyways, kind of got really hardcore into that and then kind of fell back out of it. I've got again, my daughter is a freshman in college. My son is a sophomore in high school, and he's kind of going through being recruited to play college football somewhere, and that's a lot. There's a lot to it. I played small college football 30 years ago. I think I thought when he came of age I would know a little something about that, but when I was being recruited, it was pre-internet. I was sending out VHS films of my my play and whatnot, and it's just a whole different world. It's busy and it's all about networking and there's just a lot. It feels like a lot of working out, but it feels like we're going somewhere every weekend. We went to Ball State this weekend. We went to Kentucky State the weekend before that. We went to University of Kentucky the weekend before that, and you see where I'm going. We're going to Morehead State this week. We're going to Gardner Webb the week. Anyway, you see what I'm saying? It's a lot, and so like I was kind of like, I kind of need to pull back. I need to refocus on his stuff because I've only got 2 years left. But then I've kind of found that I still have some time to read and do this stuff. But anyway, it's wild and crazy, and but fun at the same time. So really, ultimately, just trying to get free college, right? So this is my March 2024 wrap up, which I read a shit ton of books at the front end of March, and then kind of fell off because of all the stuff that I just said to you, and that's how it goes. I read in bursts and lulls, and that's kind of how I am. But I've gotten back into audio again. I use Scribed for that, but it's another app now called Everand. And I'm really trying to use it to work through Stephen King stuff, but I've also done a few like short things out there as well. So this month, March, I did by Stephen King, and I love that story. It's probably 2.5 hours audio the way that I listen to it anyway. I listen to it slightly sped up, not much, like 1.2 or whatever. But I love that story. I mean, it's about a guy that finally gives in and gets a Kindle, but the Kindle he gets is odd, and there's a menu on there for like titles, and what basically is I think it was 10.6 or 10.4 million different other realities. So our guy's a big Hemingway fan, and there are 10.x million other instances of Ernest Hemingway. And in some worlds, he died young and never wrote. In some worlds, he lived longer, didn't kill himself, and lived longer and wrote 4 more novels. In some worlds, he was a dime store crime novelist, etc., etc. And for a reader, that it was refreshing, but super overwhelming when you think about that. So, I mean, I don't think that I have fully accepted the idea that I'll never be able to read all the books that I want to read in this world, let alone 10.x million others. So, very, very cool story. He finds another like archive, another menu in there that is like local news, but the local news is different. The local news is stuff that hasn't happened yet. And so he's kind of set on a quest, journey or whatever to try to stop something that he finds out that's going to happen to someone he cares about. And we get the low men in yellow coats, and we get links to the Dark Tower, and it's just a really, really cool story. So I really enjoyed that. That was by Stephen King, 5 star. Enjoyed that one. I did the Clown Brigade by Stephen Graham Jones. I really dug that one as well. Probably 4 stars. I would say next to the Only Good Indians, it's probably my favorite Stephen Graham Jones piece that I've read. I haven't done a ton of his books. I really like The Only Good Indians. I really didn't like My Heart is a Chainsaw. And I'm like halfway through a book of short stories of his called um, something about when the lights go out, the people, something about the people when the lights go out. I don't know. Apparently, that book is really hard to find. I looked on eBay, like, there's two examples of it. It's like $250 and $350, and I'm doing it in audio, so which is weird for me because, as you know, even when I'm doing something in audio, I like to have a physical copy to wave around, but I will not be getting a physical copy of that book anyway. But back to the Clown Brigade. Really enjoyed it. It's about a guy that he's starting to see clowns everywhere, like everywhere he looks. You know, there's a clown on the airplane. There's a clown over there, and we kind of think that he's a normal dude. I mean, he is our main character. We think he's maybe a good main character, but we kind of come to find out that his relationships with women have been very stalkerish and disturbing, I guess. And it kind of goes in this place where you act like a clown and behave like a clown, you physically start to turn into one. So and the clowns are kind of coming to accept him, and his clown behavior into the Clown Brigade. Anyway, I enjoyed that one. 4-star, liked it. I did Sliver by Ira Levin. Again, I was working on an Ira Levin read through. This is my fourth, I think. Yeah, I love Rosemary's Baby. I really, really like Stepford Wives. I didn't like Son of Rosemary, and I middle of the road liked Sliver. Probably 3 stars. It's about surveillance. I mean, a woman moves into this building and finds out that the owner, who she started a romantic relationship with, is surveilling the entire place. She has cameras in every room and so on and so forth. And but he's got a lot more dark shit in his past, and it's a thriller. It's not really a horror novel, although some of that stuff could cross the line into horror, but it's more of a thriller. I kind of wanted to read it because of the film. The film came out, I think, in 91, 92. And if you remember, it came out, like, I believe, right after Basic Instinct with Sharon Stone. And so everybody kind of wanted to see what Sharon was getting up to next, I guess. And anyway, but I mean, it's good. It's an entertaining thriller. I would say that, quite a lot of build up for such a short book before like the shit really hits the fan. I also say that while there are some steamy parts to this book, they were, I guess, a bit less steamy than I would have expected. But anyway, 3 stars, Sliver by Ira Levin. I did Sleeping Beauties, finally, by Stephen King and Owen King. This is one that I kind of skipped over. Again, I've read the vast majority of everything that this man has put out. But in the last, I'm going to say in the last 10 years, I guarantee this one's older than that, but in the last 10 to 15 years, there have been some that I missed, and I've gone back and gotten most of them. And this is one that I still had to go get. So, and going into this, I really thought that there was a low opinion of this book. I really thought that people didn't love this one. I dug it. I dug the absolute hell out of it. Probably 4 stars, but I really like this book, and it's a kind of a dystopian, apocalyptic type thing. All the women go to sleep, and we see it coming. Much like we were with COVID. Like we knew when COVID hit the West Coast and was kind of making its way our way. We know that we've heard the news. We know this is coming. It's heading our way, and it hits, and some of our characters are doing everything they can to stay as awake as long as they can, but they can only fight it off for so long. And but yeah, all the women are falling asleep, and they're immediately like shrouded in this cocoon, like spider webby like material that tendrils out from. And anyway, so So the men are left, and the women wake up in this other world, this other version of this same place, and everything's focused around a single small town. I believe it's in West Virginia, which again, I thought that was cool. I mean, I live in Kentucky, but I believe it's takes place in West Virginia. Our main characters, one of them is the local sheriff, a female, and her husband is the local psychiatrist, I believe, doctor psychiatrist at a women's prison there, and so the women wake up in this other version. The men are over here really trying to get their wives and the mothers and all that stuff back, and so you're in this situation where people are pitted against each other. People are choosing sides. On the men's side, what do we do to get our wives back? On the women's side, do we even want to go back? Do we even want to go back to a world where men run things and do we really even like our husband that much? That type of shit. But and so in that, you kind of feel that which side is good, which side is right, but again, there's not really a clear idea of who is right and who is wrong, and how they are deciding to deal with these different situations. There's one mysterious woman, like an emissary, that's shown up. That she's the woman that sleeps and wakes. She's the only one that can go to sleep and wake up, and there's differing ideas on what to do with her, as far as trying to get the women back. So very, had a lot of, for me, felt a lot like The Stand as far as that goes, as far as a group of people on one side, a group of people on the other. Anyway, I really liked it way more than I thought I was going to like it. 4 stars. Sleeping Beauties by Stephen and Owen King. I did A Sliver of Darkness by C.J. Tudor. I've done 4, I believe, of her novels. They're right here. I've done The Chalk Man. I did that like 3 years ago or so, like when it first came out, and then I kind of lost track of her. I've read 4 of her books in the last 6 months. I did The Drift, The Hiding Place, The Burning Girls. The Burning Girls is my favorite novel. This is probably right in the middle of the road for me as far as enjoyment. I think I like it more than The Hiding Place and The Drift, maybe a little bit less than The Burning Girls and The Chalk Man. But this one's short stories. I've called C.J. Tudor the Queen of Twists. Sometimes those twists work out for me. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they wind up feeling like, the rug's been pulled from me, or maybe a bit like cheating, you know what I mean? But anyway, I really enjoyed this book. Short stories. There are shorts on each story in this that are out there. So my shorts on shorts videos. So really enjoyed this. I don't remember what was my absolute favorite story in this book, but really dug it. Really dug A Sliver of Darkness by C.J. Tudor. I think I was at 4 stars on this book. I did a reread of Misery by Stephen King. I really liked this book. 4-star, liked it. I liked it more upon reread than I did before. There's definitely some movie pollution there. I've seen the film. I knew the differences between what happens to Paul Sheldon in the book versus what happens to him in the movie. I knew there were differences to the hobbling scene. If you've seen the film, I won't mention what happens, but actually I probably will. But in the film, there's a sledgehammer. In the book, there is a axe. I would just say that. So a bit more extreme, I guess. I guess that's more extreme. I don't know if you ever recover from a sledgehammer to the ankles, but anyway, there's also there are other parts of Paul that he does not leave this scenario with, that doesn't exist in the movie. I'll leave it at that. But perfect example of 2 characters carrying a book, and for me, I mean, I've got all kinds of theories. Well, first of all, kind of a funny thing, like I did this and then I immediately did and I was like, what if what if Annie Wilkes got the Kindle and found out there were 10.x million versions of Paul Sheldon, and she just you know goes across universes to take care of each one. But another theory that I had was that it's a little bit convenient that she is this Paul Sheldon super fan, right? And it just so happens that after he finishes his new book, he's traveling the back roads of Colorado or whatever, and happens to run off the road in her area. For me, now Annie Wilkes is a much darker character than I remember. She's her past is much darker. The stories of her being a delivery nurse, a pregnancy or neonatal or whatever you call it nurse, was it was a bit darker than I remembered. And so, like, for me, she's just batshit crazy, and it didn't matter that it was Paul. It could have been a professional baseball player that ran off the road, and she would had used his convalescence time, his time where he was in and out of drug induced sleep to catch up on all his highlights and statistics and be his super fan. But that's probably total bullshit. But you get what I'm saying. It's a bit convenient that she's the one that finds him and the one that takes him in, and she's his super fan. Part of me wants to say that while he was in that drug induced sleep, she caught up on all his books. She formed her opinions. She all those things. So I don't know. Probably bullshit, but I think a little bit when I read these things. So anyway, Misery by Stephen King, really dug it on reread. 4 stars. And then my stack's gonna fall. I also did Broad Street Bastard by Chad Lutsky. This is the first book but third book in a trilogy. I'll explain that. The other books are The Same Deep Water as You, which is the first published but the third book in the sequence. The middle one is Slow Burn on Riverside. I always screw that title up, but I think I got it right there. Slow Burn on Riverside. It's the second one published, but the middle book in the sequence, and this is Broad Street Bastard, the third published, but the first book in the sequence. They can all be read standalone, but they all are based on the same main character, Jex. For me, I like this all right. I'm a fan of Lutsky's work. 5-star. Have loved a lot of his books. Stirring the Sheets, probably still my favorite. Skullface Boy, really liked that one. Really liked Wallflower, I think it was. And I'm drawing a blank on what's the other one? Anyway, I've really liked a lot of his books, and I've probably read 10 to 12 of his books. I really like the one he did with Tim Meyer. I think it was called Wormwood. And I also really like the one he did with John Bowden, which was Out Behind the Barn. This one was middle of the road for me, probably 3-star. Liked it. I would probably say my opinion is the same across all 3 of them. I think I'm 3 stars, give or take, on all of them. I will say The Same Deep Water as You won my cover of the year one year. I absolutely love the cover of that one. But we're following Jax. He's 18 years old, I believe, and he's already had enough experience with drugs and alcohol that he's in a 12-step program. I know that exists, and I don't know how much of this is autobiographical, but for an 18-year-old that's already that far along in his usage of things to be to come to terms with it and to be in a 12-step program, to me that, it didn't feel off, and it didn't feel, it just felt a little odd to me, right? Because I've never experienced that. I don't think I've ever known anyone like that. And I think Chad's a little bit older than me, but I come from roughly the same time period. So, but we follow Jax. For me, there's a lot of sex in this book. Every woman wants him, or he has ability to basically talk pretty much anyone out of their pants, and that kind of felt a bit, I don't know, much maybe, but really what it comes down to is he's fooling around with a married woman. He's going out one night. One of his friends shows up to his apartment drunk. He's like, "You can't drive. You got to stay here. I'm going out anyway." Kind of sets him up in his bed, comes back the next day, and this dude's been brutally murdered. So that murder was meant for Jex, right? Like someone's trying to kill me. One of these women that I've, had a relationship with, their significant other is out to kill my ass, and so it kind of turns into this crime novel or crime novella or whatever of trying to figure out what's going on there. Look, I didn't hate the book. I just, didn't love the book. So I'm 3 stars on Broad Street Bastard by Chad Lutsky. I think that's it. That's really all I got. I am diving back into The Dark Tower. My history with The Dark Tower is I've read the first 3 books. This will be my 3rd time. I just finished The Gunslinger for the 3rd time, and I think I am halfway through the drawing of the 3. Gunslinger, 3 stars. I mean, kind of been that way the whole way. I mean, I don't love that book, but I think I love what it's setting us up for. People have said that this is Stephen King's masterpiece. Now, for me, a real horror fan and less of a fantasy fan, I don't know that I will ever agree with that. We're going to find out. But I really am enjoying the drawing of the 3. The Gunslinger just 3 for me. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm diving back into the Dark Tower with the ultimate goal of finally making it there, like Roland, trying to get to the Dark Tower. That's kind of what I'm doing. I've also I'm reading Black Mad Wheel. I always want to say Mad Black Wheel, but I'm reading Black Mad Wheel by Josh Mallerman. I'm probably got like 50 pages left of this one, so that'll be something that I'm talking about relatively soon. I'm about halfway through a book of short stories by Stephen Graham Jones. I think I already mentioned that. Yeah, so you got a bunch of stuff I'm trying to get through. But this has been Well Red Beard. This has been my March of 2024 wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're enjoying all your books, all of them, as much as I am. If not, you're reading the wrong damn books.